What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 58 of the RUDIS Wrestling Podcast. Brought to you as always by RUDIS. Matt, we're going to talk about the mini tournament. We already talked about the best 2 out of 3 finals. You want to start with the big guys or the little guys?
Let's start with the little guys. We gave the big guys their due on the last episode.
Yes, we did.
I think we gave them plenty of love. So let's start with the little guys again.
Matt, I'm going to be transparent here. With the guys sitting out the final X and then some of the guys sitting out the second in the mini tournament, you're getting less great matches in the mini tournament. So some of these weights, I don't want to say but I kind of felt like that about some of these weights. So hopefully that's not too offensive to some people.
No, I think that's normal. I think we've talked about this on previous episodes. Is that at most of our weights there's probably a clear number 1 and number 2. At some of our weights, we have an embarrassment of riches where it extends down to the 4 or 5 guy that could actually win the whole thing. But for the most part, I mean, it really is. We kind of know who's going through. At 57 kilos, everything kind of held true to form. There weren't any major upsets. I mean, did you think Jack Mueller or Zane Richards, or were you? I mean, we kind of talked about Jack Mueller as an X factor. Were you upset by that one, or I was kind of caught off guard? No, I mean, I didn't think. I know Zane Richards is very good, but he hasn't done anything to distinguish himself. Where at least Mueller was on a world team.
You're right.
And did Mueller win a world medal? I'm not sure. I know he's been on.
He was on the U23 team last year, and I do not think he won a medal. I mean, the other thing, Matt, about this weight class is, you said embarrassment of riches, but. Man, you throw Spencer Lee and Nick Suriano in this bracket, and it's looking a little bit different.
Yes, you really could.
It really is. And then the other thing to add on about this bracket is that next year, you look at 61, and you say to those 61s, who of these guys can go up to 65? To me, the answer is none of them. Not one of those guys can compete with Zane, Jordan, Yanni.
No, I think Brewer. I mean, Brewer's weight cut, and that was apparent. I think it was really apparent that the weight cut affected him. And that was speculation that could Brewer, especially just make weight, turn around, jump into 2 out of 3. Some people are saying, would he have been better served actually making weight, getting his weight in striking distance, going through the mini tournament, and then making weight again? But
I think the answer to that is no, man. Making weight twice. Always worse than making weight once.
But I think he's the one guy. Everybody else up at 61, you would think they could go up to 65, but it really their chances are dramatically different. I think Nico Megaludis has already said he's making his way down to 57 kg for next year.
He did say that. I figured that was happening. I didn't see that.
Yeah, he did come out and say that on his social media in the last 12 hours, I believe. So.
So recently. Okay, so I missed that.
Yeah, so after the tournament yesterday, and he ended up, beating Brewer, getting true third to make the national team.
And really, Nico looked great. I mean, he 10-0'd Sean Foss. He tech-falled Tony Ramos, which I believe then Ramos retired after that match. He came up a little short against Tyler Graff, but he looked good, really good prior to that in both the U.S. Open and the trials. So, when you look at Nico Megaludis, you think that's a guy that could probably compete pretty well at 57 kg for sure.
No, for sure. And, I mean, there can be an argument. I'm sure there's a high level of frustration with Nico. The way he was in control against Brewer at the U.S. Open Finals, he gets pinned, and I never say guys get caught because
I hate that.
Yeah, I hate it. Yes. He got pinned. He was winning the match and got pinned. He's got to be kicking himself after the U.S. Open, saying, I had a U.S. title within my grasp. I let it slip through, and that's on me. I made a mistake. I got out of position. I know Brewer's a dangerous guy. I can't even give him a crack in my armor. I did that. He pinned me. He's got a chance to rectify that coming in this weekend. And right away against Graff, he gives up a 6-point sequence where he's down 6-0.
Yeah, so, maybe, Matt, then you're saying, hey, if you're Nico Megaludis and you get another shot at best 2 out of 3 against Tyler Graff, maybe you're going to take that.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like he got blown out against Tyler Graff. To what you're saying, it's one sequence. If he doesn't give up that sequence, he kind of, I don't want to say, once you're up 6-0, you can kind of gear it down a little bit. But, after that 6-0 sequence, he kind of controlled the match.
Yeah, he really did. So I think Megaludis is one of those guys that's kicking himself for lost opportunities during the past month. But looking forward into next year, he's got to be a guy that thinks he can be in the mix. I mean, he's going to be if he can shrink his body down to the point where he can function at a high level after a weigh-in in the morning. But he definitely could be in the mix at 57. I don't know if you can say the same thing about Nishan. I think that would be probably even more of a
Nishan made it in 16.
This is true, but he's 4 years older.
What about Cologne? What about Cologne? Can Cologne go down?
Jeez, he would be just.
And Graff. What about Graff?
All those guys just seem to me.
Wait, didn't Cologne make 57 one time?
I think he did, but
16 or 15.
But again,
they're gonna have to do. Man, they're gonna have to do it. They can't go up.
They don't have a choice, and that's unfortunate. You either, I mean,
it sucks. It sucks. It's terrible.
This is and you have to be brutally honest with yourself, right? You could say I'm living the Olympic dream and go up to compete at 65 kg, but are you really going to compete? Let's be brutally honest. No, these guys, those guys are not competing against Yanni, against Zane, against Oliver, against Molinaro. They could step on the mat, but they're not going to compete with them.
I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. I mean, they're just not. And so, honestly, with some of these guys, I mean, the top ones, you might say, okay, you know what? Let's just stay at 61. Let's try to win a non-Olympic world title because they have that, right? They have the world championships for non-Olympic weights.
Yeah.
And keep going at 61. I think that's something that you might consider because I think for some of these guys going down to 57 again, man, I feel like that could ruin their bodies almost. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's going to be miserable. It's totally miserable for them.
It's almost like that. What was that movie with Matthew McConaughey a couple years ago when he won the Academy Award?
Which one?
Is it like the Dallas Buyers Club? Was that what it was?
Oh, when he was like a crackhead or whatever?
I think he got HIV or something like that.
Oh, he got HIV. Okay,
and so he completely changed. He completely changed his body. He lost 30+ pounds. And you could tell it had an effect over his next several, movie roles. You're like. You could see the lingering effects of what he did to his body. Yeah. And no, really, seriously, you could see it in his next couple roles. I think he was in True Detective, and now we're getting into pop culture stuff I don't like to talk about. But, in relation to what you're saying, some of these guys, if they do it right to be able to function at a high level at 57, it might take them 2 years to get back up to 61 and function at the level that they need to make a world team. That's, that's
because they're gonna have to. I mean, what you're saying is they're gonna have to do very drastic things to get themselves down to that weight class.
I mean, they're gonna have to change their physiology. It's not just cutting water out, right?
Yes.
And it's not just shrinking. Yeah. It's like changing the physiological makeup of your body, and that just doesn't happen. It almost takes a whole year. And, it almost looked, and this is a conversation for another time, but, when I saw Jaydin up at Beat the Streets, right away, I looked at him and was like, he's going down to 86.
He looks smaller.
It almost
There's no doubt. There's no doubt about it.
He's already started the process.
In his mind.
Right. And you almost have to. I mean, the Olympic trials is not that far away. It's next April, right? So we're 11 months away.
10 months.
Yeah, 10
11,
months.
You're right. 11 and a half.
So a lot of these guys, if they're going to do it, it starts right now.
Yes.
But anyway, we're kind of jumping over. Are we kind of transition to 57
I mean, that's relevant. That's relevant to 61 kg, man. I mean, we're kind of talking about 57 and 61. I think what we're talking about is relevant to I mean, obviously not only 61, there's 70, 79, other weight classes for sure, but definitely relevant to these guys.
Yeah, I think that's an important. I mean, it's a piece that we have to layer right now. So when we get into it, in a number of months, it's already been informed a little bit, and we've kind of gone through what they have to do to position themselves to be competitive. But yeah, I think moving forward, like every weight, every Olympic weight is going to be much more competitive than the field we saw right now.
Yes. Okay, so 65. We had a lot of fun here, Matt. I don't know which one of these matches you want to talk about. I know Dom Demas, Jason Ness blew me off the page that Dom Demas beat him 12-0. I mean, that's a butt whoop, but Jason Ness has been good forever.
For a long, long time.
For a long, long time. I don't remember getting killed 12-0. I don't really recall that. I could be wrong. I could be forgetting something. But man, that just usually doesn't happen to Jason Ness.
No, I've never seen anybody, especially a young guy like this. I mean, Demas, we talked about him in the college season. He is just a complete gunslinger. I mean, you challenge him in certain areas, he has no conscience. He's just going to hit you and throw you on his head.
You said he got no conscience.
Yeah.
That's funny, Matt. That is a funny way to put it. Maybe no fear.
No fear. Yeah, I mean.
No fear. No conscience. He doesn't feel guilty about how he's going to throw you on your dome piece or what?
It doesn't look like he considered the consequences. It's like, hey, you challenging me here, live at your own peril. Live at your own peril.
Well, so, I mean, we bring up 12-0. Are you going to bring up the Eierman Demas match?
I mean,
20-15?
Holy
Good
snow.
God.
And I think the majority of
Demas
those
got up 8-0. He got up 8-0.
And I think the majority of those points were in the first period. Weren't they high double digits after the first period? It was an absolute.
I don't know what the score was, but yes, it was high.
Yeah,
I'm going to click on the match here again.
You break it down, and you just watch a match like that for sheer entertainment value. Because if you look at the technique and the execution, you can get really nitpicky here, but just from a pure
especially if you like defense and good basics. You get very nitpicky.
Yeah, like in this situation, we've been talking about movies a lot. This is more, it's what, Avengers Endgame. It's just a lot of commercial value. If you're looking for a high-level wrestling match, a high level of technical skill,
yes,
this is probably not the match. But for strictly entertainment value, wow, those guys put some points on the board. I think for me,
well, I mean, really, Matt, we talk about Dom Demas being a gunslinger, but Jaydin Eierman, he's got the 2015 match against Demas. He had two insane matches. He came up a little short, but two insane matches against Frank Molinaro. 10-8 in the third place match. And what was the front side one? Matt, it was
11-7.
Let me look. 11-7. Two crazy matches against Frank Molinaro. Tech Falls, Dean Heil, third. I mean, this guy, he was just all over the place. Didn't get all his hammers every time, but he's on fire.
And I tell you what, he is getting better. He's one of those guys, and I think that's the other layer to this discussion. We're talking about the mini tournament here. Obviously, Zane came through. How does the storyline or how does the script potentially flip in the next 10 months? Do we see a guy like Eierman make that next step and actually pass Molinaro and Oliver? Do we see Oliver and Molinaro making one more run where they could legitimately do it?
I think Oliver and Molinaro are too old, Matt.
You think their window has closed?
I think it's. Here's the thing. I think they're still good, but man, Yanni passed them both. Zane passed them both, and they ain't looking back. Yanni and Zane are moving forward, man. They're competing against each other for the world spot. They both won world medals. I mean, I can tell you, Matt, I'm getting old now. You don't get younger, right? You get a little slower. It hurts a little more. You get a little more pain. You get a little more stiffness. And that's kind of, I feel like that's the point that both Molinaro and Jo are at. I mean, they're both over 30 now, aren't they?
Yep, young 30s. So you can get better at what you can do as you get older. You can get better at what you do, but you can't necessarily at a certain point add anything new.
And the other thing, man, is Zayd and Yanni are just getting so much better right now.
They're just jumping. Like every competition, they just jump.
Yes, absolutely.
And they're in that window. They're both. I mean, they're both a couple years towards 25, right? They're both young
Yanni's 20.
Yanni's
Yanni's 20 years old. He's gonna get a lot better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and then obviously Eierman is what? Eierman's 21 maybe. Demas is probably what? 18, 19. I don't know.
19?
Demas isn't old. Honestly, I wish there was way.
Demas is probably 19.
Because he's junior eligible. I'm pretty sure.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm almost 100% sure he's junior eligible.
I've given some props for not dropping down and making a junior world.
That's why I give him the rest off against Yaya Thomas.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they should. They should. I think you should credit a guy for challenging, for putting himself out there, challenging himself, and for good reason. For good reason. He's not that far off. He really isn't.
No. So yeah, I mean, listen, I could be wrong. But Father Time never fails. I think Molinaro and Oliver on the downside. I think we'll see them both compete through 2020. But I don't see Yanni and Zane coming back to the field anytime soon. I think they're going to start moving forward, and then it's going to be up to these other young guys, Jaydin Eierman, Dom Demas, to start trying to catch them. Is that fair?
Yeah,
okay with that?
And from and
I know Frank's your guy. So I hope you're not too sad about that. But no, Father Time gets us all.
Yeah, Father Time's undefeated, right? And I thought that was for Oliver and Molinaro, the two veterans at this time, they're the veterans of the weight class. They showed that on a given day, it could still be their day, but if it was repeated over and over again, the odds probably favor Rutherford and Yanni. But I'm not.
Well, didn't you really feel like Rutherford controlled Molinaro?
I did.
In the semis?
I did. I mean, it was a battle, but it was if you're being just really brutally honest, he did. He kind of controlled he controlled the match.
Yeah. Okay, 70, another weight class where we're gonna say so these guys are going somewhere next year, whether they're going up or down. I know Ashnault's going down. I think most of the other ones are probably going up. James Green looks great. Anthony Ashnault gets a couple sneak by him wins. I think no one really expected Anthony Ashnault, including myself, to make the finals of this weight class. But he looked really good. I mean, there's another guy that's really young, Matt, that had a great run. And he's going to go down to 65 kilograms to make that weight class even tougher.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, looking at a lot of these guys, for most of these guys, I would say almost all of them, Ben, all of these guys are almost in no man's land. Nolf was the guy that you could say, and he proved that this past weekend. He can go up to 74 and have success. Yeah. But these other guys, they're right in the middle. Like,
well, man, the hard part of it is, man, it's not like you have to go up weight class and beat someone who's not that good. You got to go up weight class and beat Kyle Dick or Jordan Burroughs.
Yeah.
Or not, you don't have to beat either or. You got to beat both of them. Come on, man. That's like, geez Louise. You go up weight class and beat those guys, and then to get to them, you got to beat Aymar. You got to beat Nolf. I mean, damn, dude.
I mean, I would never discourage someone from bypassing their Olympic dream. But for a couple of guys that we talked about at 61, you might be better off developing experience by entering making a world team and wrestling a world championships in a non-Olympic weight class, sanctioned weight class. And there could be probably a lot of experience that you get from that, a lot of maturity that you grow from that. And I wouldn't begrudge any of these guys to say, hey, I'm not a 74 kilogram guy, and I'm not a 65 kilogram guy. That's the
one guy that is, man. I'm telling you, I train with Ashnault. He's not a big 70. He's going down for sure. I can't speak on the rest of these guys.
But I look at a guy like Hidley. No way.
He's not making it.
But with his stature, I'm sure he can bulk up and throw another 10 pounds and go 74, but he's even less functional. He doesn't need to add more mass to his body type. I think the more mass he and Pantaleo add to their body and Sorensen, they become less functional, not more functional.
Yeah.
And that's why 70 is probably the perfect weight class. Even with James Green, that's unfortunate for him that he's coming through an era that he legitimately could have won a couple Olympic medals. I'm not saying he could win the gold, but at 70 kg, he could have probably won a couple Olympic medals. And he's not. I mean, he's probably going to go down to 65. I don't know. But if
you talking about James?
Yeah.
Dude, come on.
He tried that last time. It
was terrible. He almost killed himself.
Yeah.
He ain't going down. There's no way he can't do it.
I mean, he can go up to 74, but
he's got to go up. This is his only option.
But he's not going to.
Or bypass it.
Or bypass. Yeah. I just don't.
He's 70K, 60. He's going to make 65 day of twice. He's going to die.
He's going to die.
He can't do that.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not really a realistic option. Did you see how he looked at 65 day before one time weigh-in?
Yeah,
it was terrible. Yeah, he can't get that small. Okay, Green looks great.
You know what?
I don't know.
Let's talk about this match. The one match, and I mentioned this on the previous episode.
Hidley Ashnault? That's the one you want to talk about?
Yeah, Ashnault. I mean, Hidley totally dominated the match. But that doesn't matter if you don't dominate all 6 minutes. He dominated the entire match and then shut it down, put the brakes down, didn't just give up the takedown because he made that conscious decision. I'm giving up this takedown with short time.
Yeah.
He gave up the takedown, and when he bellied out, he put his arm
right
by his side and got trapped arm gutted. So you didn't just put the brakes on, you gave a guy a trapped arm gut with less than 10 seconds to go.
Oh, man. What was he thinking?
I mean, that's just
not a good look.
No.
Terrible decision.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. And then I don't think there's much else to say there. You ready to want next weight class?
Yep.
You know what I was blown away that Logan Massa beat Tommy Gant. I thought Tommy Gant was looking so good, and Tommy Gant is a guy who he had so many good wins and good tournaments this season. And Logan Massa is a guy who didn't even All-American. This is kind of another one we talk about in the Deacon, Stevenson, Snyder vein, where his freestyle results are so much better than his folk style results, and it's not like he's a terrible mat wrestler in folk style or he's got a great turn in freestyle. I don't really get it. I can't really, I don't have a really clear explanation for you why he does so much better in freestyle than he does in folk style.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've discussed it previously. There is, on some levels, not the pressure associated in freestyle.
You think?
In folk style. I think there's a little bit of that.
Okay.
When you're truly competing as an individual, for the most part. I know these guys wrestle
for sure. You're right.
or RTCs, but it's not the same level of responsibility or pressure when you're wrestling for the University of Michigan in a dual meet, or at the Big Tens, where you do. It's a shared responsibility. You have an individual goal, you have a team goal. In freestyle, you're not burdened by that. It's all about you, and I think that creates for some guys a level of freedom to wrestle to their true abilities in freestyle as opposed to folk style.
Well, that's about as good as any explanation that I've heard for Logan Massa, the guys I'm mentioning. Jason Nolf looks great. Kind of, I don't want to say didn't have a close match, but none of his matches in the midterm were very close. Dominates Brian Murphy. Dominates Anthony Valencia. And I guess the Massa match was kind of close for a little bit, and then opens it up and wins 7-2. I really like the move to 74 for Jason. I think it was good he did it now rather than say next fall. Especially if he were to say make the world team at 70. Now he's going to be holding 70 till, is it September this year? I think it's September. And then by September you're only 6.5, 7 months off of the Olympic trials. So probably good for him to make this move, even though he came up a little short against Isaiah.
And I know a lot of people, they look at Nolf and they think he's not that big. By that bulky, muscular, filled out. but he's actually a lot bigger, a lot taller than people actually know.
Yeah.
I mean,
and he didn't look like. I mean, Isaiah is a strong 74, and it didn't appear to be a strength issue at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just an experience thing. He's got to dial things in. Yeah.
All right, Matt, we move on to 79 kilograms. I know the talk was Valencia versus Hall, but my guy Nick Becker at least made it interesting. He had the lead on Mark Hall with, I think he got scored on with about 15 seconds to go to lose the match. In a position that obviously I know him really well, in a position that he's really, really comfortable in, that he's good in. And so, man, I thought he was going to get the win. Against Mark Hall, which obviously would have been a huge landmark win for him.
No, I think that's huge, and I mean, I'm familiar with this guy because he's got a set of brothers. He wrestled at Parkside, right?
Correct. Yes.
But I've watched him more closely since he's joined with the Badger RTC, and I know you get your hands on him a lot more. But give us some insight about him, because I think he's got some upside potential. I don't know if he'll ever knock off those top guys, but he looks like
he's really
room to grow.
Yeah, and he was really close. So he wrestled at UW Parkside, was 3-time Division II national champion, 2-time Wrestler of the Year for Division II, and he obviously just committed to wrestle at the Badger RTC. He's been finishing his graduate degree and training at Parkside this year. So I think he's excited to get in there with the Badger RTC, and some of the guys they have there around his weight class are going to be very conducive to him getting better. And obviously he took third at the U.S. Open. He took third here. Dake and Derringer are still maybe a little bit ways away for him right now. But I think that's what he's looking forward to. And he obviously, we're 79 kgs, so he's got to make a decision next year too whether he wants to go down or up. And that gap is 26 pounds, so it is very, very difficult.
It's huge. And for me, and I know we had another storyline at the U.S. Open with, who was it, Jesse Palmer at 61 kg?
Not Jesse Palmer. Jesse Palmer was a former quarterback from USC. It was, oh my God, what is his name? It's not Jesse. I'm going to look.
Jesse. I'm going to go.
Hold on.
Back.
It's Paul. Joey Palmer.
Joey Palmer, right? We were like, who is this guy? We're
Yes.
not really familiar with him. And it looked like he kind of came back to the pack. But it was exciting for me to see a guy like Becker get third at the Open. And some people are like, what the heck? Who is this guy? Where's he coming from, this D2 guy? And to see him turn around and, I don't want to say validate, but show that, no, that wasn't a fluke. Like, I'm actually in here. I'm competitive, and I'm only going to get better. Just give me the opportunity. So it's kind of neat for me to see Becker. And again, I'm following him a little bit more closely now because you're working with him and he's with the Badger RTC. Yep. But that was kind of a cool storyline for me to see emerge.
Yeah. Okay. So, Matt, we talked on the last episode about how bad Derringer smashed Valencia, but Valencia took it to Mark Hall. I mean, it wasn't all that competitive. It really wasn't.
I mean, it was a dominant 5-0 match. I mean, Hall didn't really. He had one that I can recall, one head outside that kind of he was in deep on. He had both hands locked, but even in that attempt, he didn't sniff. He didn't sniff it.
Yeah. I mean, man, so he looked good. So were you thinking, I'll be honest, I was thinking, especially after this Valencia Hall match, I was thinking that Valencia Derringer, I thought Derringer was the obvious favorite, but I did not see, after this match, I did not see Derringer blowing him out the way he did, because Valencia looked so good against Mark Hall.
So good against Mark Hall. To the point where it almost like, I don't want to diminish what Valencia did, but I'm like, well, what's going on with Hall? Because he didn't really look good all weekend. I thought he struggled in every single one of his matches against some guy with his pedigree and what he's accomplished at the junior level and the multiple world titles. You would think that there was clear separation between, the top four guys here. When you're talking about Dake, Derringer, Valencia, Hall, clear separation, but he had competitive matches throughout. I mean, with Becker, just to your point, like
Becker was super competitive.
I mean, gave him everything he wanted, and then some. And then when it comes to Valencia Hall, and all their matches have always been competitive. This was the first match that, in my mind, wasn't competitive at all. It was a clear.
Yeah.
It was a clear.
Well, I would say their NCAA final in 2018, in my opinion, wasn't that competitive. But yeah, I mean, this was a butt kicking. So I agree with you.
You know, and we're talking about going into the Olympic year from, you know, the way everybody's talking. There's no way that Mark Hall can make 74. Is what people are saying. So
74 kg and Valencia also no.
Right.
Both of them are out. And Derringer, no. Oh my goodness, 86 just got insane.
But can any of those guys truly compete up at 80?
I think Derringer could compete. I mean, maybe not with David Taylor. David Taylor's the best in the world guy. But Derringer will go up there. Strength's not an issue for Alex Derringer. He'll go up there and compete. These other guys maybe are going to have more of an issue, I think.
I mean, the one thing that Valencia showed in the finals against Derringer, like he got physically manhandled, especially in that last sequence.
Yeah, Derringer's strong.
He just whipped him over, like just flat out
yes.
man strength, bully strength, threw him to his back. And
bully strength.
that although Valencia's got the frame to move up to 86, I don't think he's got the physical strength to compete with those guys. Because Taylor's full-sized, big 86.
Yes.
I think from a skill standpoint, Valencia is much further ahead of Downey and Heflin, but those guys have a physical superiority over him.
Heflin especially is gigantic.
For sure. And I mean,
well, I heard Valencia's going to go up to 184 next year for the college season, so I guess we'll see what kind of size he can pack on. Because who knows? You know, he's young. He's what, 21?
Yeah,
22?
He's still young.
So he could. I mean, think about how small David Taylor was when he graduated college. He was a 165 pounder.
Very similar strength, very similar body type.
Body types, even yes.
From a maturity standpoint too, you look at Valencia and like, holy cow, this guy's all arms and legs, right? But he hasn't filled out to it, and I think that's what we talked about David Taylor. Like he was so huge and so long at 165 that we knew he could fill out. But with a guy like Hall, who's already physically mature, like I have no doubt he's mature enough to compete at 86, but could he ever be big enough? I don't know. I just thought he had the different body types, I think definitely are in favor of Valencia when it comes down to that matchup. I don't know. I don't see Hall really being in the mix with those guys at 86. Do you?
No, I don't.
Maybe,
I don't. I think he's going to get hammered. So, no, I don't see him being competitive. He wasn't really competitive against Valencia. Valencia wasn't really competitive against Derringer. So, you know, you're saying Mark Hall's a couple steps back right now, and we're a year away. So, I mean, honestly, I don't think he makes 74, and I think he's kind of a non-factor at 86.
So what's his future look like?
He's either got to figure out. I mean, I don't know. Well, Mark Hall needs to develop, Matt. He hasn't really developed that much in the last 2 or 3 years, in my opinion. I mean, he was junior world champ 3 years ago now. He was junior world champ again 2 years ago, and you know, he just hasn't made gigantic improvements. Where you know, it feels like Valencia. I don't want to say he's leaving him in the dust, but it's not nearly as competitive as it used to be with those two. And, you know, now, obviously, Deeringer's getting much, much better. Dake's still there. Yeah, I think Mark Hall is kind of a non-factor going into 2020.
You know, and I hate to create a narrative and, like, knee-jerk, like, it's passed him by. But some guys, like, would you describe Mark Hall as a man-child coming out of high school?
Well, he was, I believe, like, don't quote me on this, but, you know, there was always the rumors that, I don't want to say the rumors, that he was older than a lot of people. There was also, he did 7 years of high school wrestling, because they believe he did 1 year in Kentucky and then 6 years in Minnesota. You know, so he was being pushed from a very young age. And whether that was his desire or someone else's desire for him to be pushed from that age, I think it takes a little bit out of you. You know, he was literally from the age of 14 competing everywhere. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's just a little burnt. I don't know him at all, so I don't want to make any judgments. But I could tell you factually, in the last 2 years, I haven't seen a lot of progression in him.
No, and I have to agree. And again, I think it warrants this clarification: is that we don't have any insight. I don't know Mark Hall. I've not have a conversation. This is just you and I, our outsider's perspective, and I have to
outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
Okay. 86 kg. I gotta tell you, I wasn't too interested in this May tournament. Nick Heflin comes out on top. He beats Miles Martin and Sammy Brooks. This field, like we talked about, is going to get a whole lot tougher next year. We think that Cox is coming down, Dieringer's going up, Valencia's going up. This is going to be a whole lot more fun next year in this bracket. Anything else you want to take away?
No, not
Disappointed
really.
Miles didn't get over the hump.
Yeah, I thought Miles is going to get back on track. It didn't happen. You saw glimpses there that like we always do. Yeah, but hopefully he just needs more dedicated time. Just focused in on freestyle. And we'll see. But yeah, there wasn't a lot that excited me about this weight class. Hoping that Taylor is healthy for Final X coming up.
Well, he could get a delayed wrestle off. So
yeah, he could push that back to Fargo if need be. Hopefully he doesn't need that for his sake. Hopefully he doesn't need that extra time. Hopefully he just it was preventative, his default at a beat the streets. But yeah, I mean, not a whole lot.
Well, he's posting his workout videos, so he might be ready. Yeah. All right, 92, I feel similar. I mean, not really that great of a bracket. Colin Moore, Zillmer was kind of a crazy match in the semis. Mike Mock wins. And then, we talked about how it went between Mike Mock and Bo Nickel, which was not very good for Mike Machiavello.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about where guys would go. Would they go up or down? In this weight class, when you look at Hayden Zillmer, do you say, will we see Zillmer jump back on the Greco side of things where he's had success before? Or does he stay? Does he stay in freestyle or neither? It looks like with his body.
Well, let me ask you this, Matt. Can you see Zillmer beating Kyle Snyder?
No.
Well, I mean, if you want to make an Olympic team, I don't know how competitive he is against the Greco guys, but
he's right in there.
He's not beating Kyle Snyder. He's not beating Bo Nickel.
Yeah, I mean, he's 0 for 3 against Nickel in short order. So
yes.
Maybe that's a discussion. Machiavello, he seems to be one of those guys where I could potentially see him going down to 86.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he used to be a 184-pounder.
Yeah. As opposed
He's a little bigger
to
since
going
then.
up to 97. He doesn't look like he necessarily has the stature, the height-wise. He seems a little shorter.
Yep. I can see Mike Mock doing better at 86. I mean, when you say, could you see him going with Heflin or Downey? And I think the answer to that is yes, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Colin Moore's the guy like you probably see going up to 97 would be my guess.
Yes. Yeah, I think we'll see that. He, young, can also grow. All right, 97 kg. Another bracket, I gotta tell you, I'm not all that interested in. Ty Walls beats Kevin Beasley. Your man Ben Honus lost in the semis to Kevin Beasley. I don't know. I feel like when they added the 92, that the upper weights kind of got even a little more thin than they already were.
Yeah, I mean
these upper weights are not that great.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot to talk about. Ty Walls, whatever was going on at the U.S. Open, looked like he kind of turned some things around, made it to the best 2 out of 3. Just not a lot of depth there. I mean, you can Beasley. I mean, Walls, Beasley, and Boykin have all been around for a couple years at this point in time. Honus, I think, is the one guy maybe that potentially has some upside to continue to develop. We'll stay on that train.
The Ben Honus train.
Yeah, but I don't want to sound disinterested here, but it just.
Well, I am.
Okay. Then let's move to heavyweight and.
Heavyweight. Well, heavyweight was fun because we wanted to see where Gable was, and Gable looked great. I mean, kills Nick Neville's, dominates Don Bradley in a match that got chippy, and essentially dominates Anthony Nelson, who just got done dominating Derek White. I mean, Gable's probably the story of the mini tournament, I would think, and possibly even the story of the whole weekend.
He's got to be.
Maybe not the whole weekend, but definitely the mini tournament.
No, without a doubt. I mean, there was speculation. We talked a little bit why he didn't show up at the Open, but proved to be a wise decision. Whatever he did between the end of the NCAA tournament and his preparation leading up to the World Team Trust, good move by the Minnesota staff. It's got to be the storyline, right? I mean, dominant.
Gotta be.
He just
great.
didn't win. I mean, even as much as people are talking about Yanni and the people he beat, he had a lot of several competitive matches at the U.S. Open, and Stevenson didn't. This was
Stevenson kicked everybody's butt all
domination.
Weekend.
And we're talking about, again, we talked about this the last episode. He's 18. I know he's got 3 world titles.
I didn't find his birthday, Matt. I Googled it. I didn't find it.
But the guy, he's 18. I'm almost positive, Ben. He turns 19.
You're definitely right.
Next month.
I mean, you're definitely right about him turning 19 at some point in this calendar year, but I don't know exactly when his birthday is.
So, given his age, given his weight class, and given the guys he beat, we're talking about Dom Bradley. Very good. Very
Kicked his butt. It wasn't close.
Anthony Nelson, 2-time NCAA champ. Very big, mature, older, totally handled.
Yes.
And this was a good match a year ago. And I know these guys train together all the time. They're both from Minnesota. But the level of separation, he beat Nelson last year, but then created complete separation.
Yeah.
And
usually when people practice together, they make the excuse that they know each other so well and it's hard to beat them by much. But Gable pretty much handled Anthony Nelson.
And going from getting completely controlled from Adam Kuhn last year to him dominating. These weren't even competitive matches in the best.
Not even close.
Not even close. That's it. I mean, story of the tournament, for sure.
All right.
Would you say his performance here is bigger than Yanni's performance at the U.S. Open?
Oh, no, I won't.
No, really?
I refuse. I was so impressed by Yanni at the U.S. Open. He beat Frank Molinaro, Jordan Oliver, and Zane. That was insane. Yeah. So no, I won't say. That was mind-blowing. But they're both very, 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 very good. So I will not say it's better, but I will say amazing.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Well, that's it for episode 58. Come back. We're going to talk about women's wrestling, Greco, and the junior trials.